This is a Misfit Gamers Studios production. I am your host, Vortex.
I really need to change.
But I have to have a home for that first. Do you guys do that? Do you guys have concerts out here? If you don't, you should.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to, encroach on y'all's whatever.
I feel like a cat right now.
If you embarrass me.
You know I will.
It's me.
That's not mean. It's necessary.
You're necessary!
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone, to Episode 1 of the Old Gods campaign series. If you haven't checked out Episode 0, where I explain the background and setting of the campaign thus far, I do suggest it, as we didn't begin recording until 2 or 3 gaming sessions in. In this episode, we find our heroes doing a bit of shopping after their encounter with a celestial entity that they've dubbed Andre, and trying to find out what they're going to do next. But first, we're going to get a quick recap from one of our main heroes, Allo. Let's get gaming. Left the temple, and you guys left with a lot of information, so you came back here to level up, get some more knowledge. You learned a couple new spells, but you learned a couple new psionics.
Yes.
And you learned that from your big pal in the temple.
Yes. Andre, that's my boy right there.
Not actually named Andre.
Well, we can pretend.
I mean, you can pretend, but you'd be pretending wrong.
That's sure. Just in it. Okay, so basically what had happened was, Andre kind of filled us in on a lot of stuff that we've been trying to discover in the first place. One of which is 3 new tasks that are now set before us. These tasks are within a certain time frame. They have to be completed within 3 months of the end of our level up period. So, at the end of that 3 months, there is going to be this Rising of Gaia that's going to happen, and that's going to be triggering this 10-year event after that. And,
Do you remember what the 10-year event is about?
It's supposed to be good, I'm pretty sure, I think.
It's supposed to be good.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. Like, everyone's, ranting and raving about it, but most people don't get to see it because there's a 100-year gap before that 10-year period. And right now, we're at the end of that 100-year gap. So, once that 100-year gap, and the last 3 months of that 100 years, that's where we're at.
So, the Rising of Gaia begins the 10 years of growth and prosperity.
That's what it was called. I'm going to just write that on here so I don't forget for next time.
Probably be a good idea.
Growth and prosperity. Okay.
Okay, so you were given 3 tasks.
3 tasks, yes. So the first task is depicted as travel to the Isle of Light, gain reach beyond the darkness, and touch the soul. Touch the soul. That is task 1. Task 2 is travel to the Isle of Darkness and cast away the shadows. And then task 3 is travel to the Sea of Eternity, call forth the Challenge of Trinity. And basically these are some obscure references, I'm guessing like riddles, that we're going to have to kind of decipher and figure out how to get to the next task. And a couple of the tasks have a bit of additional information. The first task we know is a task to seek after a divine instrument. It also has a riddle attached to it, and it has a riddle attached to it, but we don't know what it is yet. And then there was the divine instrument that you're seeking after. It was cast from the eyes of mortals by the gods. And it was basically a part of this story, that one of the main stories that I've been researching. There is a guy traveling around with this divine instrument, and he lost it. And the gods took it and put it up in the stars.
Alright, good recap. And so, once you had learned all of that, you did decide to take on the quest. You accepted the challenge. And while you rested, you both had a very interesting experience, because while you sat with your giant friend and spoke and discussed and read and wrote all of these stories, and they helped fill you in on some of those odd stories that I've mentioned before. And while that was happening and you were attempting to recover, you had a completely different experience as your giant friend basically reached out, knocked, and offered assistance to help you understand a little bit more about your powers and guided you to a slightly different direction, because for your powers as a psionicist, at this point had only been telepathic. It's always been, between you and your brother and with other people's minds. But Andre was able to essentially expand your understanding about what your power really meant. And you begin to understand that it's not just other people's minds, it's everything around you. And thus he was able to teach you how to unlock your telekinetic powers.
Yeah.
And now you can move objects with your mind.
Like a boss!
And do some other really, really cool things.
Yeah, like make me sound awesome. Well, more awesome.
And of course you gained a lot of knowledge and some extra abilities.
Yeah.
Trained up on some things. So then you returned, you also found a very good treasure.
Spells?
A couple good items.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, you got the list. I don't have those written down anywhere. You have those.
I have it.
Let's see. So then you sold the item. You sold the Saddle of Flying.
Sold the Saddle of Flying.
For well over half price, which is, by the book standards, extremely impressive, especially with 3 crit fails, and you still increased.
We had a bad roll day, but we had some real good ideas for these people.
You convinced him well enough. So then
we could have gotten 3,000.
Sorry.
But y'all bought some really nice stuff.
Yes.
And now that everything is kind of settled and you have, about 3 months, give or take, and again, that's not an exact time frame, but you have roughly 3 months until the proposed Rising of Gaia. And again, that's not necessarily on a specific date because it's been 100 years since it's happened last, as far as anyone knows. So at this point, it's coming, and it's coming in the next 3 months, but you just don't know exactly when. So before you realize essentially the first task, and it does sound like they do go in order, so you get presented with the first task. And one thing that you were able to point out with Andre's help is essentially you believe that you have to decipher which island they're referencing from the past, which there are no records of these island names, like the Isle of Light, the Isle of Darkness.
Right.
So your first task will be trying to decipher and go about figuring out what those actually mean,
right.
Starting with the Isle of Light.
Right.
So depending on how you go about doing that and researching, your neighboring islands that you've heard about, but again, it's more one of those things of you may live, here in California, you know about all the other states, but it doesn't necessarily mean you visit any of them. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people live in California and haven't ever gone to the ocean. Mm-hmm. It's insane. You were never more than 3 hours from the ocean. Have you never been there?
Or the people who've never gone to see the snow.
Yeah, that one's a little bit easier though, because it can be up to, 10 hours, but you're never more than 4 hours from a beach. Anyway, so how would you go about deciphering this? What would be your first steps in deciding how to figure out what your next step has to be, where you have to go?
Well,
because you've heard about these islands, you've heard about these other places, but you guys, as on all your travels in that 6-year period, you've really only seen a coastline of a sort once, and then other than that, you just never traveled far enough. So you're on a pretty big island, and you've heard of the other islands. 7 in total. But you have to kind of now figure out, well, how is this, how does that work?
Well, in our travels, I know that throughout the 6 years that I was out on the road, a lot of that was spent gathering information about all these stories. So I kept a lot of detailed records of what was going on, what was happening, where we were going. And so knowing that we had seen water at some point, my first instinct is, in order for us to go to any other island, period, we're going to need to go to the water. So I would go there and seek out anyone who knows anything about any of the other islands, like where any of them are, how to get to one of them. That would be the first thing I'd want to do. And then I would go as far to my stories and start looking at which one of these stories is going to direct me towards the Isle of Light. Which one of these? Because I know it has to do with the story about the musical instrument. I know those two, that story and this task are related. So I'm going to put those two pieces of the puzzle that I have together, trying to figure out how are they going to correlate. Where's that line going to connect?
Okay. And how would you go about assisting in that? So you're suggesting just go straight to, basically figure out what the best dock
which
is.
Island it is, we need to get to the water.
So basically, you want to find out where to go to travel between the islands.
Yes.
Okay, so he wants to go straight there. So you don't want to stay in town to do research on the islands or anything.
I can do research on the way. I mean, I'm going over my stories and stuff is the biggest thing that I'm going to need to do. But going to there, that's where we're going to need to actually be to take any kind of action.
Well, I could help by asking around and see if I can help find any potential people who might know that information.
Okay. So while you're getting ready, you want to go ahead and do that. We'll see if you're able to find anybody. So you would be rolling
down the river.
It would be. So we're gonna say it's the same as your insight.
Wisdom -2.
Yeah. Do you have any abilities that would help you?
Primarily just ESP.
Okay.
They would have to be actively thinking about going to another island.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So and then what'd you roll?
7 out of 7.
Okay. And you're just kind of asking around?
Yeah.
A lot of people say that they've always heard that the only port that ferries between the islands is south.
How far south?
The south of the island. If you think about California, you guys would basically be San Jose, and they're telling you you have to be at the southern border.
Oh.
So just interpretation of where you're located.
So
You're already more than halfway down. You know it's pretty far. Even in those 6 years, you guys never traveled that far. Even considering in the 6 years, if we're using the ratio, again, not the exact same size as California, but same ratio, you guys would have traveled as far as LA.
Okay.
Never quite to San Diego and never quite further.
Right.
And that's why the only time you ever really saw the ocean was when you stopped by Monterey. Then you saw that little cove real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really see the ocean. Saw the bay and then left.
Okay. So
that's what you're able to get with that particular role.
Right.
Unless you want to also, attempt to do anything by discovering more information, either by, researching, going to the library, or going about the town with her, and just using your ability to tell stories and get information out of people by being chummy with them. And you'd be able to roll that based off of your charisma. I'd even give you your charisma plus that modifier bonus to your roll.
Okay.
Just because of what you are and your ability to be, play with people, I would let you actually get the bonus to that to see if you can get some extra info.
Okay. So.
Is that both of us or just him?
It would just be him because he's the bard.
Oh.
All right.
But you do have a silent that might be able to help.
Charisma.
It's suggestion.
What?
With a hypnotic suggestion, you might be able to use that to your advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, real quick. If you use that, I'll let you remove the penalty to that roll again. So you won't have a penalty to the same roll you used me.
The same penalty or no?
No, you won't have a penalty.
Oh, okay.
Same roll, you just won't have a penalty. What is it?
2. So no, I don't get it.
You're still learning. You're still the thing is what you're trying to do is you're getting them, but more often than not, just like guys and girls talking with them, they're even getting your hypnotic suggestion misinterpreted, and they still think that you're trying to it's they're guys. Unfortunately, they just can't help themselves.
It's fine. I'll put my boot up their ass.
So you said it's the charisma plus what?
Plus your modifier bonus.
Plus 8?
It's kind of more of a reaction bonus. I adjust their ability to react to you, then you roll just to see how successful you are.
Gotcha.
But that bonus is to their reaction to you in the first place.
That makes sense.
So they're already kind of essentially it's like your crowd pleaser, your sway influence or whatever, influence audience.
Yeah, influence audience.
So influence audience, you can sway the audience by a point or two. I'm allowing your bonus to sway his already initial influence with you.
Right.
So then your roll will basically be easier. So even if you go a little bit lower, it'll still give you opportunity.
Cool. So that's like a +8 to my roll, right?
What'd you roll?
I got one more than her.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
With a roll of a 3, I mean, everyone's happy with you, but unfortunately, everybody's basically saying the same thing in this particular bar. Unfortunately, you guys are just talking to the same people. You know, like you're talking to someone and you're talking to someone, and then when you move down, you end up talking to the same person she just talked to, and then you walk over here and you talk to the same person he just talked to. So unfortunately, you guys are doing the right things, but you're just not getting the right information from these people. So yeah, do you do any other kind of research, or do you end up just preparing to go south?
Trek on. I'm going to be going over all my bard shit.
Okay.
Poems and stuff on the way down there. Trying to just dive into the lore, to the past, the stories, see if anything connects.
Okay. Interesting. So is that to say, do you kind of just go off, go play some music somewhere and just try to read your book and just kind of really go through everything?
I mean, yeah. I imagine myself for traveling.
Alright. So
I got coming to myself. Reading.
Go ahead and roll me percentiles. Which instrument are you choosing to play?
A harmonica.
Okay. Roll me percentiles for that. And you? He's going to go off and try to just see if he can self-discover the situation. What will you be doing in the meantime? Do you want to do any additional type of research to figure out more than just head south? Or do you just want to get ready?
I mean, she'd probably help get the carriage ready, because sounds like it's going to be a bit of a trek down.
Well, I just mean, if you don't have anything else, it'll just be assumed that you just buy the supplies and then you're just waiting for him, essentially.
Yeah.
But if you want to do any more research into either the islands or the traveling there or anything else like that.
And I keep, asking around. Just trying to...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It'll be the same roll. Okay, what'd you roll?
I need 3.
I need 3. Okay. And what'd you roll?
8.
Alright, out of 20. You did get a little bit more information. It sounds like the reason why going south is because, based on the way that the islands are positioned, that's really the only dock that does the travel, because it's the safest and really the only way to do so.
Feel closer to the other islands?
Just the way that, they just say that the way that the islands are positioned, leaving from the south is really the only one that does it.
Alright.
I mean, again, not a big roll, so I had to give a little bit more, but not too much detail. As for you, you rolled a 93. So, go ahead and roll me. How much PSP do you have total? What's your max?
67.
Okay. So roll me a d20 and a d4 minus 1, and you're going to multiply the two.
A d20 and a d4 minus 2?
Mm-hmm. You want to do another search?
Sure.
So,
that was
22.
It rolled over.
I saw a 12. I clearly saw a 12.
Alright, it was a 12. I know there was a 2 involved, so...
Yeah, I saw the 2, and I clearly see that's a 12.
Alright, it is a 12.
Alright, 12.
It is a bit costly.
Costly.
Yeah.
What's costly?
It's been a long time since a recent report has come through, but the last time anyone has heard, it's 200 per person.
Get on the ferry?
Yeah.
What if we have a carriage or something that we want to take with us?
They just shrug. They have no idea. They just know it. That's the last time they heard. It's 200 gold per person.
Can I use my ESP to see if I can determine anything else they may not be speaking aloud?
Sure, go ahead. Roll the appropriate ability. And so, what was your 20 roll?
I got 11, and then I got a 3. Minus 1 times 2 equals 22.
Gotcha. Okay. You drop to 22 PSP.
That's fucked up.
And roll me another d4.
Why are you breaking stuff?
I was Just chilling, thinking about some shit. You rolling another what?
D4.
Not bad. I rolled a 3 again.
Okay. Okay, so 4. So 3? 3. Okay, so for the next 3 days, you drop your max PSP drops by half.
What did you do?
What the did I do?
What did you
To you? I was look. What did you ask me?
Oh, ESP requires contact first, so I guess I will try contact first.
Okay, just make the appropriate rolls, and as long as you succeed, we'll be able to see what you roll.
What did you ask me?
Huh?
What did you ask me?
I didn't ask you anything.
Yes, you did. You asked me what I was doing. You asked me what I was doing, and I said that I was.
Yeah, you were
through my
gonna.
journal.
You were going through your journal, playing your music,
Playing
trying
music,
to just kind of.
And I was playing my harmonica.
Yeah, trying to figure out the answer to the quest.
Well, I didn't fail. So, what is their
So you made contact.
level or hit die for me to calculate how much it costs?
At this point, it's going to be so minimal. I mean, these are all 0 level people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're in your hometown. You're not in a major quote unquote like adventurer area. So everybody here, unless you're going to a named person, pretty simplistic. It's still no. When it comes to that, you pass, right?
I know, but this is ridiculous that...
Have you salted your die lately?
No.
Well, maybe they're sad, or maybe you should be playing with Mrs. Dice.
Yeah, apparently I've been neglecting her, and I haven't... Okay, so using ESP while I'm talking to them, I'm trying to figure out if it's more information that they know,
Then they're actually saying.
or if they truly just don't know.
Essentially, when they're talking and you scrape their memories, they are vaguely remembering somebody talking about how, just extravagant and ridiculous the prices are. And in the specific memory, you don't see anything that specifically states 200 gold, but it's the way that they're talking, and you can get a sense of just the way this person is. That's just the way that they talk. It's kind of like not necessarily slang,
Yeah.
but it's just interpreted as, oh, okay, yeah, we're talking about that much.
Yeah.
Because you know what expensive is to you and your friends. So when you talk about how expensive something is in vague terms, you kind of understand the level that they're
Like when
talking
you're a kid,
about.
you're like, that's probably $100.
Yeah.
And then we're like, yeah,
So definitely able to confirm a little bit more that that's what he truly believes.
Alright.
All right. Do you do anything else before we continue with
I feel attacked.
this
Like,
guy over
literally.
here?
Actually.
What did you do?
I did nothing. I was playing my harmonica, and then I decided to look through my journals and stuff. That's what I was doing. So is this a painful thing? Did something hit me psychically or something like that?
It's more like once you had read your journal and then switched to playing, and you're kind of doing that thing where you're kind of staring at your journal while you're playing. It's more like in that moment where you daydream and coming out of it as if you haven't slept in 2 days. So you daydream for a few moments, and then what it's going to feel like when you come out is as if you're sleep deprived. Or not necessarily sleep deprived because you still have a lot of PSP, but it's really going to feel like you're just like, okay, I should take a nap. I should, I'm...
So my new max is 22 for the next
No,
3
your
days.
new max is half of what it was. You just dropped to 22.
Oh, right now.
And now your max is now half of what it was. So you'll have to regain up to your half.
Is he near me when he's doing this?
No.
When? I thought we were in the carriage.
No. This is before you guys leave. This is still in town.
Carriage is parked at a home, and we're just kind of walking
I guess
around.
I was just on a walk.
I mean, you could have been at the carriage. It could have been parked off into a little grove area where you guys hang. I mean, it's your hometown. I don't
If
know.
I'm studying, I'm probably going to be laid down somewhere in the shade.
Like a hammock.
On a
At
hammock.
our house, probably.
Yeah, so that's you would just be chilling out there, and that's what would be happening. You're in town trying to get some more info.
Yeah. So
but-
I'd probably eventually come back to that
Yeah.
information.
But now, have you been keeping tabs on him? Have you been feeding him information here and there?
Yeah, I'm sure I probably would have.
Do you guys do that when you're not separated? Do you kind of ping him or hey, I got some more information. Looks like it's going to cost 200. I'll get back to you. Kind of like just like a walkie-talkie. You'd be like, hey, found this out. All right, I'll get back to you.
Right.
So, at one point, when you go to send that information about the 200 that you found, it goes to dead air.
That's weird.
Meaning that she can't feel me?
She knows it didn't get delivered. And that doesn't happen. Not to you.
Especially not to me.
I feel like I'd start hurrying and try to repeatedly call out and be like, hello?
It doesn't last very long for you.
Yeah.
But you ping him, and then there is that moment where you almost double take, and you're like, did that go through? And then you ping him again, and then you might be like, wait, that's not going through. And then maybe a few minutes, and then maybe you're like, okay, hang on. Because you've been throwing around, your PSP, so you're like, okay, hang on. You let it rest for, a few minutes, and then you ping him again, and then you get him.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a time frame in which...
Every time I lose PSP, it's not me actually using the damn thing. This is bullshit. I want some psychic XP.
Hey, you can use your wild psionics whenever you want. Okay, you wanted it so bad, and you got the mother load. Okay,
I got some good stuff.
You got the mother load for a wild psionic. You got what? How many? 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3, and you were supposed to get 1. And then none of them had prerequisites. Unfortunately,
that's
because you didn't get granted the automatic.
They had some telekinesis too,
right? But they were all, and ironically, they were all completely directed at you. They were all personal development changes.
All right.
I love it. It fits perfectly, but the die gets to choose.
It's true.
All right, so that's happening to you.
What's happening to me?
Still hurrying home.
What is happening to me?
Because when it finally does start going through, it's not like he's responding because normally he doesn't. But you can tell that even though it's going through, it's almost like you could tell when it gets to its destination. It almost like it's
falling down deaf ears.
No, it's more like in the psionic version of imagining you're taking whatever information and you're sending it forward, and right as it gets to a destination, it almost like it enters a little bit of fog, and it just distorts just a little bit when it reaches its destination. And you can kind of tell it's like you get that same similar effect, but much more mild, like when he first wakes up, because you can tell he's getting the info, but he's not completely getting it.
Boy, probably took a nap. Sleeping on the job.
But why would a nap stop you? Normally you can wake me up out of my sleep.
During that time, when you were thinking and playing and getting in the zone back home.
Getting in the zone. In my hammock.
Like I said, so you come out of it feeling like you had that daydream, but also coming out of it, you have just a bit of a memory of what that daydream was about. And in that daydream, you saw a Pantheon type building, the top of a hill, very stereotypical, of course. Basically, it's kind of one of those cartoonish type where it's the only thing on the top of the hill, and there's just that giant staircase leading up, and then the entire hill is just grassy.
Yeah.
And then it's just sitting up there. And from this view, it seems like you were down far at the bottom of the hill looking up at it. And even though it looks to be daylight, you don't see the sun in the sky, so you assume it's behind you. But you're looking at the Pantheon from the front, and you can see far behind it, even though it's daylight, in the sky, just barely above it, you can barely just see it far behind it, but almost cut off, is just a super bright star. Something like, kind of like the North Star, but again, even in daylight, it's just as bright.
Mm-hmm.
Through that as well, you also hear the faint sound of what you believe to be a lyre, kind of swinging it down the hill. Yeah, you hear the sound of that music down the hill.
Coming from the house, supposedly?
Emanating from the top of the hill where the Pantheon is.
Okay.
I might be adding pictures to the website for this, so we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, when you come out of it, go ahead and give me an intelligence check -2.
We'll match it then.
Oh, no.
11.
Out of?
18.
Was that your natural? Was 18?
18 is my natural.
So,
wait. So this is -2 or my roll is -2?
So what is your...
My roll is a 13.
So what's your intelligence?
My intelligence on the sheet is an 18.
So with the -2, it'll be you're rolling against 16.
Oh, that's how that works.
Because you don't want to go over.
So I got closer to it than I thought. So
yeah,
I got a 13.
and you got a 13, so that's actually in your favor.
Okay. I thought it was like a 11 out of 18.
No, because the idea is that you want to roll close without going over. Mm-hmm. But the higher it is, the less chance you have a failure. You know, right. But the lower it is, the more chance you have because you widen that gap between your number and 20, and all of those are bad. So that's the idea behind the minus. But in this particular case, because of that slight rule of the closer you get, the better the roll, it actually benefits you in that respect. So try to balance it out. Right. Okay. So let's see. So to kind of recap, or to kind of end it up here. So you rolled it pretty well. So you were actually able to remember that tune long enough to be able to, you would be able to jot it down in your journal. Okay. Because assuming with the bard, I just assume you can write music. Yeah. So the idea is that you would actually be able to recall not the memory, like you know that was the daydream, and you know that was basically the snippet. I can't really tell you what happened in the daydream until later. Well, like I said, it's a daydream and it happened in an instant, so what happened in that instant isn't comprehensible to you all the time. But the part that you were able to, to remember was those key, images that I gave you. And you were actually able to vividly enough remember the tune, at least.
Would I have been able to like sketch rough guess of what I wrote or what I saw like a...
The only thing that stuck enough for you to jot down in time would have been the song. After you basically jot down the song, it fades enough to where you could say it was the Pantheon on a hill, and there was a song. Oh, and there was a star, but there was the song. Like, you would know basically the star, the Pantheon, the hill, but you would know what the song is. Right. So that's kind of what you were able to gather with that 13. And then basically he would fill you in on that. That he basically had like a little daydream, and he would try to say, I don't know what it was about, there was this thing, there was a hill, but there's a song that I heard, and he would even try to play it for you, and it sounds pretty nice. It's very unique, very old-timey. Very old.
Not really my style, but hey, why not?
So, in that particular case, you guys would then get ready to load up to leave, and head south. After debating and arguing about how dangerous and weird it was that you shut her out for a moment.
They shut you out? Was that my fault?
And the fact that you're weakened and can't seem to... You're basically, for those 3 days, you're going to feel fatigued. Like, you're going to be able to do stuff, but you're always just going to feel that slight bit of, like, tired until those 3 days are up. So your first 3 days of travel are going to be a little bit uncomfortable. Right. But you guys will be able to head south, and then basically what we'll do is we'll probably pick up the next session in a town right before you guys get there, give you guys some other opportunities to get some more information. And then the second half of that gaming session will be actually arriving at the docks.
I don't remember if I paid for these or not.
Thank you for joining us for the pilot episode of the Old Gods campaign series. I hope that you'll stick with us through this adventure, as I can promise that it does get better, as well as the sound quality. I do apologize, but early on in the series we were having some difficulties, but we definitely have gotten better over the first season, and I'm proud to announce that we had a major upgrade in Season 2. So try to stick with us and enjoy the show. Come and join us at cornertablegaming.com.